Right, 15 June 2024, and I am very happy to be giving you the Saturday update. And usually the Saturday update goes very, very quickly. And obviously, I'd like to start by thanking Tari Designs, who is providing me with my designs, my clothes here every morning. And I want to take you through what is happening. There's a lot of developments taking place. And I want to start with Kembo Mohadi, who is the Vice President of Zimbabwe. So Kembo Mohadi has been having a lot of issues, and this is to do with ill health. And yesterday, Kembo Mohadi has came out and admitted that he's got massive issues with being able to perform his duties. So if you look at the interview that is given to Mashonaland, Kembo Mohadi has admitted that he is struggling, and he says that it's not because of ill health, but that he's old. So that is what he's saying. He's saying he's old. That is what is making him have all those ill health, where you see him struggling to walk. And recently, he was on a stage and failed to finish his speech. He had to ask for a seat to sit down. So there is a big problem there at the top. You can see Kuti, most of the guys at the top, even Mnangagwa himself, they are struggling with their health. And you do not expect these guys to do anything. You do not expect Mnangagwa to do anything. Uh, I think it's clear that there's need for a massive change to take place. Our country is basically now at a standstill. Things are not moving, and the Mnangagwa administration is a very, very big problem. These guys, first, they don't have the ideas, and secondly, their health is just not there, and it's becoming and proving to be a problem. If you see him addressing it like this, it means it has now become something of major concern. And Mnangagwa is expected to replace Kembo Mohadi very, very soon. As I said before, the person who's going to take over here is Valerio Svanda, who is currently in the military. And there's going to be some moves, obviously. These moves are important moves because you're seeing the succession starting to play out within ZANU-PF. But before we even get there to the succession, there is massive problems between Mnangagwa and the army. Yesterday, the military guys did not show up again when Mnangagwa was addressing the women. So normally the army guys show up, but this time they did not show up. Mnangagwa addressed the meeting with Opam Chinguri once again, and the army guys were not there. So this is something that is becoming quite common. There is friction between Mnangagwa and the military guys, and the military guys are fed up with Mnangagwa and his antics. And Mnangagwa continues to make speeches that when you're watching him, it's not clear what is happening. Something is wrong with Mnangagwa at the moment. He makes these kindergarten-like speeches that leaves everyone baffled, wondering what is going on. So this was the women's event yesterday, which was addressed by Mnangagwa. And Auxilia Mnangagwa, I did not see her at this event. I saw Kembo Mohadi over there. I saw Opam Chinguri, she was over there. So there's quite a lot of realignment taking place within the top of ZANU-PF. But in short, guys in the military are not happy, but around Mnangagwa himself, you can see the people that are around him. You don't expect them to do anything. So the current problems that we have, if this continues, it means for the next 5 years, you're going to be dealing with the same problems that we have. Nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to improve around Mnangagwa. So that was our headline for today. Mnangagwa to replace Mohadi. You're going to see this starting to happen very, very soon. If they don't do it, one day he's just going to collapse in public and not wake up. That is likely to happen. Remember in 2018, Mohadi had to be airlifted to South Africa after he collapsed and got sick and was away for quite some time. So this is something that Mnangagwa has to do very quickly to move on the position of Mohadi, because if they don't do it, it will happen by itself. Now, I want to quickly run through some news, and there's a very short story right now happening in Hurungwe. So you're watching here on the screen the medical director for Mashonaland West, and he is called Celestino Dhege. He has just released a report which showed that 40 children were buried secretly by the apostolic sects. Some apostles have buried 40 children secretly, and they planted potatoes and tomatoes on top of the graves to conceal the deaths of children after an outbreak of measles, diarrhea, and flu. So these kids died within a very short space of time recently, and they were buried secretly because the apostolic sects did not want to reveal that these children had died. So there is a massive investigation taking place, and I know that nothing will be done because the apostolic sects, they support Mnangagwa, so they won't be touched and they won't be arrested. One family has lost 6 children out of those 40, and the apostolic sects are still refusing to let their children go to hospital. So the government needs to do something. This is a very bad situation that is developed in Mashonaland West, in Hurungwe specifically, and there are about 5 villages affected. That is Maronda, Mangate, Shumba, Village 5, Chakaraya, and Zokamushure. Those are the villages where 40 children have died, and the bodies have been buried secretly by the apostolic sect. So you remember that we mentioned that Mazbaba Ishmael has done the same thing. Mazbaba Ishmael is an apostolic sect member, and I said to you, over 100 children, I thought you have been buried over there. Now we've got the medical director of Mashonaland West revealing that all these children have been buried alive, well, buried secretly. I do not know if they bury them alive or what, because what they do is, if you get sick, they'll bury you very, very quickly as soon as you're dead, which is quite sad. And the medical director here has asked for an investigation into the burial of these children. So that's another critical story that is taking place. Now let's go to another interesting story here, which has taken place. Many Zimbabwean men, prominent business people, and prominent men are suffering mental health issues, and some of them end up taking up their own lives. So what the guy you're seeing here is Christopher, and he is the owner of Heads and Hooves in Bulawayo, prominent butchery, and he has taken his life at a place called Famona. This is a trending story. Christopher Androliakos, the founder of Heads and Hooves, a popular butchery in Bulawayo, is reported to have taken his life, and he was found dead at Famona. So that is the story that is trending currently. At the same time, the founder of Adipeke Jang is hospitalized right now as you speak over the same issue. The founder of Adipeke Jang is reported to have owed $850,000 in debts, which he could not pay. And this resulted in him attempting to take his own life. And this is becoming a pandemic among the Zimbabwean males who cannot handle the situation, and they resort to attempting to take their own lives. So mental health is becoming an issue, and obviously this needs to be addressed. I don't know how it's going to be addressed because the personal issue, and these are personal decisions that people make. But what I can say in short is, if you're a man, avoid taking too many debts, avoid being too ambitious, taking on too many projects. Sometimes it's okay to just sit and do nothing. You don't have to be doing a project all the time. And also focus on the important stuff. So most guys, they focus too much on publicity and looking good in public, whereas you can actually do well with what you've got. Sometimes you need to be out of the public space. So most of these guys are in the public space. They've got so much pressure. They feel like they have to do a lot, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like that. And this takes us to Doreen Vonjapulu. So this lady is something else. Doreen Vonjapulu and Brighton Hove have been deregistered by the Law Society of Zimbabwe, and she's the wife of prominent lawyer and Sengizo Shavangu Senator Kutsatsa Pulu. Doreen Vonjapulu is a fraudster, and she has sold a residential stand that does not exist to somebody. And when she was found out and told to give back the money, she could not give back the money. and her files have been taken to another lawyer. So the Law Society of Zimbabwe has had to intervene because she committed fraud. Then on top of that, she has gone to a client and lied about the state of a case, of a court case. She pretended that she was taking care of a court case. She made mistakes in the filing and then concealed the state of the case to the client. And this has resulted in her being deregistered. So I think fraud runs through the Mnangagwa family. And right now, she actually appeared in court for one of the cases where she sold a residential stand that does not exist in Sunning Hill. So that is a residential stand which she claimed was there at Sunning Hill but did not exist. So Mnangagwa's wife has been deregistered, and Mnangagwa is a senator of Sengezo Chabangu. You remember that Mnangagwa became a lawyer for Sengezo Chabangu against Nelson Chamisa and the CCC after the recall of all those MPs, and they jumped ship to Sengezo Chabangu's side. So this is a fraud, and it's a sad fraud because people have lost their money and clients have not been represented. Cases have been thrown out of court because of a negligence. Then I want to go to another interesting story here. That is the story of prominent Zimbabwean, what can I say, motivational speaker. So prominent Zimbabwean motivational speaker, that is Joshua Maponga, is going to be hosting a one-day men's conference to discuss men's issues, health, matrimonial, investments, and many more. And this is going to be on the 29th of June in Mutare. Joshua Maponga is well known and well liked by many people in Zimbabwe and South Africa. And I think this is an ideal time to deal with men's issues. As I said, men are having massive mental issues which are not being addressed. And Maponga is charging $50 for this conference. And if you're a company, he's charging $150. So in rands, that is 3,000 rands for companies and 1,000 rands for individuals to attend the conference. And it's going to start at 5 p.m. and end at 8 p.m. So that is an after work on a Saturday. So you can go and check it out over there in Mutare. That's Joshua Maponga. And as I said, for guys, it's critical for you to manage your mental health. If you've got relationship issues, deal with them. Do not conceal anything. Do not try to be strong because you're probably not as strong as you think. And then there is the issue of land. As I said to you, land is becoming a massive problem in Zimbabwe. There's a massive shortage of land, especially around Harare. And guys, you have to watch what I'm saying here very, very carefully. Land is becoming very expensive. So within the next few years, the price of land is just going to skyrocket. There is a massive shortage of space to build, and the planning is very poor. So if land is about 100 kilometers from Harare, that is going to be where people are going to start building. And the Zimbabwe government has realized this issue, that there's a massive problem and shortage of land. So they've now put a stop to any allocation of state land around the Harare city, because that is where the shortage is. There is plans to build a lot of cities, private cities around Harare. Harare has been underdeveloped for a long time. So when I'm talking about underdevelopment, if you go to some countries, you can drive for 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers, and you still be in town. In Harare, the planning has been poor in such a sense that everything has been built in a haphazard manner and nothing has changed. So if you move into Harare, the original suburbs that you know are still the same suburbs that you know. And the original spaces that you know are still the original spaces that you know. Mnangagwa has not made plans to change the configuration of Harare, including the roads. So the road that you used to know to Chitungwiza is still the same for the past 20 years. The road to Norton is still the same. So there is a need to reconfigure Harare, to redesign the city. And in fact, there's need to join some cities. For example, if you're driving between Harare and Mutare, there should be so much modernization that you're probably driving in almost a city. So there should be a city or a town within every 20 to 30 kilometers. This is not the case. If you're driving to Zambia from Harare, you can barely find a filling station as soon as you get out of Westgate. It becomes a bush. So the planning is very poor. The Minister of Lands and Urban Planning and all those ministries, they're doing a very poor job. And something needs to be done with this land. There is lack of services around Harare. And this is why we have this problem. People are trying to come into that little space that is developed, and then they build there. That's why land is so expensive. And also there's the issue of corruption. ZANU-PF officials are giving each other land which they can't use. So this needs to be sorted. And this is quite important. We need to follow what's happening here with the Minister of Local Government and Public Works. They've put out this statement that there will be no more land allocations taking place. So let's have a look at the situation. And if you are obviously outside of the country, you won't know how to get this land. So this is one of the reasons why we're going to be traveling to the UK. We need to have a plan for modernization. Zimbabwe is so behind. Under Mnangagwa, Zimbabwe is falling back to become the least developed country in Southern Africa. What Mnangagwa have done is that they've killed the private sector. They've also made it impossible for people to actually have anything. So let's say you want to build a little house. It means you have to go to a place where there are no title deeds. Everything is haphazard. So this needs to be fixed. This is where the problem is in terms of Zimbabwe. So I want to quickly look at the newspapers. Let's see if any of the newspapers have published today, and then I can take you through those newspapers. You know that the new South African president has been sworn in. Cyril Ramaphosa is back as president. So let's see who are going to be the ministers. It's going to be very, very interesting in South Africa. Who's going to be the ministers? Is a GNU or a government of national unity? So let's see if Home Affairs is given to people like the PA president, because for Zimbabwe, it's very important what is going to happen. Who's going to get the Minister of Home Affairs? These are not light issues. And going home is something that people now have to seriously consider. Many countries are coming up with policies on immigration. And if you're a Zimbabwean and you live overseas, what you must understand is that there's really not much that you're going to achieve within the next few years. You need to be back home and use the next 20 to 30 years to develop a real world that you can live for children. If you think you can leave your children in a foreign country under these circumstances, it's probably not a very good idea. It might look like a good idea because you can eat, you can watch TV, but in terms of actually developing world, you can't develop world from a foreign country. You have to be in your own country. You build something that lasts. And overseas and in South Africa, you can't do that because you can't plan. So it has become critical to deal with the Zimbabwe government, especially the government of Mnangagwa. You cannot put your hands off or have a hands-off approach. What is happening in Zimbabwe? This needs to be addressed. And the next 5 years is too far. You can't wait for an election. So this has to happen right now. And SADC is where things are happening. This is where we're going to do everything. So all these newspapers have not published. So let me recap. And let me recap the two most important stories, which is that Mohadi has admitted that he's now unable to perform his duties because of old age. He says he's not sick, but he's old. But I don't believe it. I believe it's a combination. I believe that Mohadi is both sick and old. These things tend to go together. He is not able to function. That is the thing about Mohadi, and Mnangagwa will soon replace him with someone else. And I would have wanted to play a video of Chiwenga. Chiwenga has been out in Tajikistan where he was speaking. So I didn't have a chance to upload it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that video on our TikTok. So if you check within the next 10 minutes, you'll see the video of Chiwenga speaking at Tajikistan, where he's been touring waterworks. So I'll put that video for you on our TikTok. Our TikTok is amazing. Like, this is now probably the biggest TikTok in Zimbabwe. We've got so many people coming over to our TikTok, and we're growing a new type of audience over there. And very soon, we're going to start doing more things over there. Very, very interesting what's happening on TikTok. And we obviously have a big South African audience and all over Africa. Gambakwe is becoming very, very big. And as I said, we need to build something big. In terms of vision, the vision of Gambakwe is we want to create a new system, strong systems, and Gambakwe is obviously playing a big and key part in that. You are not going to see me looking for a political office, but the stuff that we're going to build and where I'm going to focus is on the homecoming. I want us to make sure that our Zimbabweans who are in the diaspora, they come to Zim and they have got something of value. So that is where we're going to focus, and going into the dialogue that is going to take place. This is where we're going to focus, and I'm going to work a lot with the guys in the diaspora so that we get this done. And I know that people think ZANU-PF is going to kill people. If you protest, they're going to get killed. Guys, don't be worried. No one is going to get killed for asking for a dialogue. No one is going to get killed for going to SADC. Do not be afraid. Security guys, CIO, army, everyone is aligned. They know that there's a problem in Zimbabwe. And the only thing stopping us is fear. Do not be afraid. And you see me, you will see me and I'll be untouched. You see Bishop Nyamakanga, you'll be untouched. So follow behind what is happening. Do not pull back and assist with all the help that is needed. This needs your ideas. So I want to talk to Mkoma Jonathan. He says, thanks for the best ideas and updates. Thank you very much. And Mkoma one says, please ask Google, what is an echo chamber? Please remain independent. Echo chamber, Mkoma. Right now, I'm in someone else's house, so I'll sort out my things. Comrade Chirume says, Pamperene ZANU-PF. Mkoma Chirume, again, would say something. There's nothing wrong with ZANU-PF. The problem is Mnangagwa. So let me explain to you how you separate those two. ZANU-PF has got a lot of supporters, but Mnangagwa is trying to make ZANU-PF and take it and put it in his pocket. He is not developing the country. Everything is collapsing under Mnangagwa. His projects are not finishing. And when he's told by the people, he does not follow advice. Mnangagwa atereri and arkuraiva nenzara. So this needs to be sorted. And I think I'm hearing a bit of an echo. So let's see how that can be sorted. And then Mkomati One is saying, first online, Gambakwe, hope you listened to Dara's interview with Longo Margaret. Yes, I did. And young people, do not be afraid. That is the message from Margaret Longo. What do you expect an 80-year-old man to do? And I give this to the ZANU-PF guys. What do you expect Mnangagwa to do at 80? Do you want Mnangagwa to think of ideas and give you change? What do you expect Mohadi to do when he tells you he can't walk? What do you expect from Opam Chinguri when she's failing to open her eyes in a meeting? I showed you this Opam Chinguri picture, and maybe most of you didn't see what I'm talking about here. These guys are old and they don't have ideas. I'm not saying being old is a bad thing. All I'm saying to you is, what do you expect from people, for example, like Nick Mangwan? Do you think Nick can come up with an idea of anything? So think about it, guys. If you are the young people and you don't do what's supposed to be done, who's going to do it? So we need a new system, we need a new order, and we need to draw the line. So you need to draw the line. You should be able to draw the line if a young person and say, I can't live this way. I can't be. The guys who are calling me, what, 20 years, 30 years in the diaspora. How do you think it's going to end? Let's say you stay in New Zealand or in Australia or in UK. Look at what you have now. Do you think you can become a wealthy person from what you have now? And how are you eventually going to go back home? These questions are pertinent and they need to be answered by us. So do not leave this in another person's hands. And when you see Gambakwe, don't start complaining. Or when you see Chamisa, don't start complaining. We're doing the best that we can. Myself, the only thing I have is time and the platform. But we need everyone to participate. The current system does not work And the current system Mnangagwa does not work. It needs to be changed. So to change that system, we need a push. It's not a begging, and the next 60 days are critical. You have to make sure that it's done. Then Mkoma Nobet says you're wrong about ZANU-PF. We're dealing with a vicious system. ED is an individual leading a fascist party. Don't separate ZANU-PF from ED. And then Mkoma Falcon is saying Tajikistan is also poor. Do you really think we can get anything from them? So you cannot get anything from Tajikistan. That's correct, Mkoma Falcon. You can't get anything from Tajikistan. And it's unfortunate that we are looking and begging. Zimbabwe should not beg. We put everything that you need in Zimbabwe. And this is where we need to make this push. We need to make a final push. And Mnangagwa needs to step down at the end of August. By that time, Mnangagwa should have stepped down when the leaders of SADC come in Zimbabwe. It's really sad that Zimbabwe can be in this position where it is right now. It's not supposed to be that. Look at a simple country like Botswana. There's nothing in Botswana in terms of the only thing they have, there's tourism and diamonds. And then they've got rule of law and they've got proper systems in place. In Zimbabwe, there is no systems. The rig elections over there, they cause all sorts of problems. You can barely drive on the roads in Zimbabwe. So these are the problems that we're facing in Zimbabwe. System problems. So Governor Bedia, partly right. But first, you have to remove Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa is the one that is the problem, and Mnangagwa is the one who's in charge, is accountable, is the one that rigged the election, the one that put in place people like Sengizu Chavangu. So that has to be sorted, and Mnangagwa has to be confronted, and he has to be confronted very firmly in August when the presidents of SADC are in place. You cannot allow Mnangagwa to be in place, the SADC chairman. That is the one thing that should not be allowed at all. So I want to bring this to an end. I do not want to continue today. I will see you in the evening as we give you more updates. Clearly, everyone is in this position where they know Mnangagwa is the one that is the problem. I don't know if I'm the only one who's seeing it, but there is general consensus around Zimbabwe, especially within the military circle, that Mnangagwa cannot take us where we want to go. That's why they no longer attend Mnangagwa's functions. The military have stopped. Probably they will be forced to attend, but they have stopped attending Mnangagwa's functions. They know that he is the problem. So thank you very much for watching. I'll be back in the evening, and please go and look at the Chiwanga video on TikTok. I'll upload it within the next few minutes. Thank you very much, and a good day to you all.